Good day and welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats, for today we have a guest who not only defies gravity, but also breathes life into the heart-pounding action scenes that keep us on the edge of our couches. He's a true maestro of adrenaline, a master of mayhem, the man who's brought thrilling action sequences to life in both television and film, in such titles as Flight from Justice, The New Adventures of Robin Hood, Musketeers Forever, Heist, 300, Death Race, X-Men Days of Future Past, and Scream 6. These are just a few of his 97 action-packed stunt credits. Our guest is not just a stunt performer, but you may recognize him from his daring feats in Highlander, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Guardians of the Galaxy, Death Wish, Frankenstein and Me, Kart Racer, The Factory, Bad Santa 2, Transplants, Reacher, True North, and most recent, The Outlast Trials. These are just a few of his 146 acting credits. So, dear viewers, fasten your seatbelts and prepare for a heart-racing, adrenaline-fueled journey. Please welcome the man who knows no fear, Jason Cavalier. Jason, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the show.
Chris, thanks for having me. Hey, wow, what an intro. That's awesome. I should clarify, though, the Guardians of the Galaxy, that's the video game, not the movies.
You know, that's okay. It works. You were amazing in that too. No, it's really neat when you dive into the resume and you see all of these things that you've done. And Jason, how did you get started in the world of stunt performing?
Stunts came by way of acting. I took a short detour. I was in high school and I didn't, I knew I wanted to act. I knew I wanted to do stunts, and no one was really much help. So took a short detour, went to the U.S. Army because I'm an American citizen. And while I was in the States, I came back for on leave, and ran into one of my old high school classmates. And he asked him, what are you up to now? He told me he was studying film at Concordia and writing. And I'm like, what? You can go to university for that? Are you kidding me? He showed me this course booklet, and there were, a million courses: directing, acting, and directing for the screen, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. So when I got out of the service, I knew pretty much where I was gonna go. Enrolled in Concordia, spent a year in film production and 4 years in a professional acting program. After I graduated from the program, I was cast almost immediately in a teen soap opera.
Oh,
And I was the lead. We did that for a year. It was a non-union show. We were working like 6 days a week from 6 in the morning till midnight. And then after that, I entered the mainstream business. And a lot of the roles I played in my early career were bad guys. And there was always some sort of scuffle or a fight or some sort of small action sequence that was like usually associated with the role. And Montreal being a small town, the stunt coordinators got to know me pretty quickly. And in the beginning, they would have a double for me. But I would watch the rehearsal, watch what the double was doing. And when we would do the acting rehearsal, when it came time to do the action part, I would do a little small piece of the action that I saw them rehearsing. And after that happened a couple of times on set, the coordinators noticed me and said, "Hey, man, you look like you can do the thing. Do you want to try it?" I'm like, "Sure." And after a few shots like that, stunt coordinators started calling me just directly for straight stunt work. So I always had one foot on the acting side and one foot on the stunt side. And that's kind of how it started. And later, the guys would take me out whenever they were doing training. So if they were practicing sliding cars or rappelling off of buildings upside down, or doing high falls, or mini tramp work or anything like that, they would invite me. So those early coordinators are how I got my base and my grounding in stunt work.
thank you for your service, first of all. But you had said mini tramp. What is that?
A mini tramp is it's a small trampoline. It's about you've seen it. Yeah, it's a small 4x4 trampoline, and sometimes they use it to propel performers further than they would on their own steam. So if you're doing like a scene in a battlefield and somebody throws a grenade at you, and you run, you hit the mini tramp and you flip off of it and land into some bushes or land on a pad or something that we don't see, there's also an air ram, which is like, it's the pneumatic version of a mini tramp. It's a platform that's operated by air. So as soon as you step on it, it launches you through the air. And did some work on that. That's basically what that does.
So you had said when you were in high school that you always wanted to be in acting and to pursue that. Why do you think that you knew that at such a young age?
I've known it since I was like, I guess, 6 or 7 years old. I grew up in a small hunting and fishing town in northern Maine called Jackman. There wasn't very much to do. My father owned a bar, and on the weekends, he would work a double shift. And so he was friends with the man that owned the movie theater in Jackman, and he would bring me there to basically babysit me for the evening. So I grew up watching all kinds of films, like, even like adult stuff that, R-rated stuff that, normally a kid my age wouldn't get to see. But because I was there and I was friends with the owner, well, that's why I got to just basically watch everything. And my dad just said, yeah, it's okay, whatever. I don't care. And the first thing I remember watching that made an impact on me was a James Bond double feature. One of them was Goldfinger, the other one was On Her Majesty's Secret Service. At one point in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Bond is trying to escape some mountain stronghold of Blofeld, and he's sliding down the wire of the cable car. And I said to myself, "That's a job. Somebody did that. Somebody like that's some kind of work that you can actually do." So I think that's probably the first time I remember thinking, "This is what I want to do with my life." And from then, everything was just, any book I could get on filmmaking or acting or anything at the library, I would devour it. And then I just started sort of studying on my own. And by the time I was 14, 15, I had a Super 8 camera and I was making little action movies in my backyard. And it just went from there.
So when you knew this about yourself at 6 and 7, and you were watching these movies, James Bond, love those movies as well. How do you feel that this shaped the understanding of yourself as you were growing up, knowing that, hey, this is what I have to be, and outside of devouring these books, how did that really shape you and make yourself understand yourself and your dreams?
Uh, wow, shaped me. I guess it sort of honed that mindset, I guess, early on, so you develop a sort of a focus. A little difficult because where I grew up, no one else was really, interested in it. And I didn't really have an outlet for developing it other than my own willpower, you know. But everything after that was, looking at it through the lens of one day I'm going to do this. I don't know how, I don't know where. And, like when the service was a slight detour, I didn't quite know how to do it. But after I got out of the service, I basically just, once I had one doorway open, I went through it and I never looked back. And that's what my life has been for the last, 35, 40 years.
So do you think that if you didn't pursue acting, what do you think you'd be doing today? Do you think you'd still be in the military? Do you think you would have gone off and done something else? What kind of other path do you think might have been there for you if you didn't gung ho it all
Yeah,
into acting?
I might have stayed in the military. I don't know. While I was there, I got a lot of excellent physical training. The discipline was great for organizing your life. Um, the one thing I didn't know was that in order to be considered for some of the higher branches in the military, things like special forces or rangers or those kind of things, is they had to be in your contract when you signed up. And I just signed up to be a regular infantry grunt. And so advancement through the old way was very limited. I still don't know what would have happened, but if I had known any more, I would have immediately signed up for something more advanced. And if things had gone better, I probably would still be there. But I guess luckily they didn't. Basically, being a stunt person is like being the special forces of the film world. We come in, we do the job no one else can do, we get out, and that's it. And no one knows who we are.
So when you left the military and you jumped into the world of acting, did you seek out any training, or outside of books, did you take any local classes? What was that
Yeah,
preparation like?
yeah. It was a 4-year professional acting course for which you had to audition to get in. Like I said, I had joined. I had gone to Concordia University. The first year was in film production, And in order to get into the course, you had to show them films that you had made. So I still had my collection of, action movies from when I was 14 and 15, but the faculty wasn't really interested in making what I call mainstream commercial films. And they didn't really take too kindly to it. They didn't think much of it because it was, I guess not artistic enough, or not really sure. The outlook was different. I was interested in making films that people would want to pay to go see, and so I didn't get accepted into the higher level of filmmaking. And then the doorway, while I was taking the filmmaking classes, I was also taking an acting class on the side. And while I was in that class, the teacher kept urging me to audition for the professional program, and I'm like, oh, I didn't really have any faith in my abilities much as an actor. I just thought I would take the classes so that if I was directing, I would be able to speak to an actor better. I would be able to, understand their language and get a better performance out of them if I knew what made them tick and what they were going through. And so when I didn't get accepted into the filmmaking program, the doorway for auditioning for the professional program opened up, and I jumped in and I was accepted. And then I found out a month later that the students that were in the filmmaking program had sort of appealed to the board, saying you should let this guy back in, because I had helped them make some of their films while they were at university, and so they decided to reconsider. But by then I was already in the acting program, and I just kind of didn't look back and said, well, maybe next life, maybe I'll be a director next life.
So with all your experience in front of the camera, behind the camera, setting up these sequences, what do you prefer? Do you prefer to be in the world of stunts, or do you prefer to be in the world of in front of the camera and being the leading man or the villain?
Wow. Yeah, good question. No easy answer, but I'd have to say all of them. I grew up idolizing Jackie Chan, and he kind of does everything. He's in front, he's behind. When the sequence is done, he's editing it. So I've yet to sort of get the chance to do all of them in one film. I've either been the leading man with someone else handling the action and myself just as a performer, or I've been teaching other performers how to do the action, or I've been designing the action and editing it. Like, certain stunt performers go on to do second unit or stunt coordinating, which I've also done. And we have to do what's called a previs. So it's basically you take a small video camera and you basically shoot the action sequence from A to Z to give the director an idea of what it's going to look like in the end, what shots, what angles, how long to hold on this shot, et cetera, et cetera. So I've done all of it, but I haven't yet gotten the project where I get to do all of it focused on myself, so to speak. Maybe it's coming. We'll see.
One day, I think it's coming.
Yeah, I have to get, basically doing that. You have to get the trust of everyone. So, like, directors are obviously reluctant to let go of a little bit of control unless they know what you can do. And I've recently met, over the last couple of years, some guys on set that are shooting their own things, and they've cast me as the lead. But to let them get me to do the action from A to Z, that hasn't happened yet. So fingers crossed, maybe next project it will.
So Jason, with all your experience that you have, is there anything that scares you about this industry anymore?
Yeah, there's still plenty. I mean, we have a lot of, sometimes people, there's a lot of lack of attention to detail, which can sometimes lead to injury. That scares me. Sometimes when you don't know who you're working for, you don't know what their safety record is, or you don't know, you always have to, I always have a second set of eyes on everything, because it's not that I don't trust anyone, but I don't trust anyone. So it's why I'm still here. It's why I'm still in one piece. But by and large, those kind of things don't tend to happen too often anymore. In the beginning, in the more cowboy rock and roll days of the '90s, when we were doing low budget action films in Montreal, yeah, you did have to keep your eyes open sometimes, just to make sure that everything was on point. And, yeah.
Can
But
you share
now,
with us? Sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, could you share with us your most complex, I guess, stunt. What was the most challenging stunt that you've had to perform today?
Yeah, there's one that stands out. Uh, it's for a film called Crosswinds. I was playing a bad guy who gets exploded out of a window during a gunfight. The lead actor was the guy from Starsky and Hutch, David Soul, and he's firing with an M16 that has a grenade launcher underneath it, and he runs out of bullets, so he decides to use the grenade launcher and send the two bad guys flying out the window. What we were going to do was, what they decided to do is have me go off an air ram, which I explained is a pneumatic platform that, you step on it and it launches you through the air. The challenge for that was we were shooting in what's called a heritage house. So like that's a building that's protected by local laws. You can't alter the structure because it's a historical building. They had taken out the window, but the window was framed by these giant like 2x2 beams, and they set up the air ram like right at the base of the window, and there was going to be like tempered glass, which is real glass, but it's got explosive charges in the corners to break it just before you hit it. And I knew by looking at the placement of the air ram that my normal way of going off the air ram, I would have smacked my head right into one of the beams if I launched the way I normally do. So I was worried about it, and the day before, I decided to set up two gobo stands, which are those things that hold the flags to control the light, with tape. And I measured out the dimensions of the window, and I practiced going off of the air ram through the tape window. And sure enough, the first try, I went right through the top tape, which is where the beam would have been. I would have probably, had it been real, I would have broken my neck. So I spent the afternoon altering my trajectory, altering the way that I launch off the ram. And by the end of the day, I was getting it to where, if at worst, maybe my heel would clip it. If I'm wearing boots and a little bit of padding, worst would have happened would have been a broken ankle, which is better than a broken neck. So the next day we set up, and the other actor that was with me, or other stunt actor rather, that was with me, also had to run, but he wasn't going to hit a mini tramp or an air ram. He was just going to run and spin backwards and hit the window. And so the coordinator told him, listen, on action, wait for Jason because he's got the more difficult thing to do. And on action, the guy started running, and that meant I was a split second behind him. And it's go time. I had to like either decide to go or just abort. And I knew he wouldn't stop. And if he went, all the pyro and all the effects around the window, everything would have blown off, and he would have gone out, and there would have been no me. So I went, and he was, like I said, he was a half second before me, and he hit the window. And that meant that everything, the pyro, the sparks, the explosion, everything went off in my face as I went on the air ram. And I'm still not out the window yet. So the second I hit, I closed my eyes, and I just prayed that my body would do what I had taught it to do the day before. I came out the other side, a few scratches because, tempered glass, you get scratched a little bit, but I was fine. And so that's one that I remember. You get that tunnel vision, just like it's do or die. Like, do I wreck the shot, or do I go and go for it? And I went for it. And, well, I'm still here.
And Jason, over your career, what's the most important lesson you've learned?
Be nice.
Okay.
Be nice to everyone. Be nice. There's no reason. It's just a movie. There's no reason to, get short with people. I understand there's a lot of pressure, everything, but when people don't take the time to do things properly, that's when either injuries happen, or even just, people with egos that just sometimes are difficult to deal with. No matter what, just be nice.
I like that. And
Yeah.
Jason, where can people learn more about you? Are you on Facebook, Instagram, if someone wanted to follow your work?
Yeah, nowhere really. Facebook might be the best thing. I have an Instagram account, but to be perfectly honest, I don't check it very often. Read never. YouTube, there's a few interviews with me. If you want to know more about me, there's interviews, there's IMDb, but that's about it. I tend to be pretty quiet unless someone like yourself reaches out and wants to talk.
And Jason, if someone said, "Hey, I really want to get into stunt performing," what direction would you give them? What piece of advice would you tell them to do?
First, get a lot of physical training in as many different disciplines as you can. I would say the very first thing to do, if you're someone that's younger and you're looking to get into it, and you don't need to be an expert, go get some gymnastics training, very basic gymnastics training, front flip, back flip, side flip. And those three skills will serve you so well in your stunt career, because a car hit is basically a side flip. Uh, when you get shot and fall off a balcony, that's basically a front flip. And a backflip is always really good because it's like, you see a lot of guys in fight scenes, they'll get hit in the chest with a clothesline, like by a wrestler, and they'll flip all the way around and come back on their chest. If you can get those three skills, and those are basic gymnastic skills, you'll be all set. Then the next thing I'd say would be martial arts. And then learn like a kind of a martial art that teaches you really good control of your body. Anything like, wushu or capoeira, or something flashy and showy, because you'll develop a really advanced level of skill over your own body. And then after that, any other thing you want to pick up, like high diving or motocross riding or, stock car racing, all that stuff. That's all excellent grounding for being a stunt person.
And Jason, if someone said, "Hey, here's a magic wand, you get to change something about society," what would that be?
Uh, I think it would go back to the other question you asked. It'd be nice. If everyone could just be nice and have more empathy for each other, it would be a lot less conflict in the world. If you step in another man's shoes just for a few moments, don't be so quick to judge. So yeah, be nice.
And Jason, if you asked your close personal friends there, and we said to them, "Hey, what's something that people tend to misunderstand about Jason Cavalier?" What would that be?
Maybe that I'm rude or unapproachable because I'm quiet. I don't really go out and seek a lot of attention, so people might have that judgment of me because I don't really, despite the fact that I love to perform in my everyday life, I'm pretty quiet dude, so people tend to look at me and go, "Oh, he seems like not in a good mood or mean or something." And no, I'm just a quiet guy. Maybe I have resting bitch face or something. I don't know. I don't think so, but
and Jason, this has been absolutely fabulous. I have time for one last question for you, sir, and it's, what makes you smile?
What makes me smile? Yeah, you prepared me for this, and I've been thinking about it. I really don't know. It's always such a spur of the moment thing. Could be a joke, could be a good movie, could be my pets. My cat Isis makes me smile.
It's wonderful. I love when people say their family, their fur babies and pets. I think it's close to home. It's great. Sir, as I said, that's all the time I have for you, Jason. Everybody, Jason Cavalier, get to Google, get to IMBD. Make sure you check him out wherever you possibly can. Remember to smile, to inspire, and have a fantastic day, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, Jason.
Thank you, Chris.